Right, so a couple of things. First of all, I've gone and disabled that tracking thing on the throttle there, so I'm just running off the main throttle right now, and we're going to see how that works out. That way there's no way that it can switch off to zero, so even if something were to happen on the main throttle, I'd still get something. It maybe not be reading correctly because it might have got, you know, the voltage might not be reading correctly, but at least I'll have something. And I've also gone and reconnected up to my static port that's out the back there, just inside of the main gear leg on the left-hand side, and I've put a little fence in front of it just to allow the air to spill over the top of it and not run directly over it. And because the last time I had it set up there, I was having the same problem where it was sucking air and it was, you know, causing the altimeter to go down. So that's what's going on there. And with the elevator, I'm just going to keep sort of walking it in more at trim until the point that the trim spring is holding the elevator where it needs to be for liftoff. So I'll just take it, you know, a bit at a time, starting out where I was yesterday, and just go from there until I find out where the takeoff trim setting needs to be. And this time I'll actually feel it and look out there every now and then just to see what it's doing with respect to airspeed and deflection. So let's see how we go. Held off to ground, Raptor 352 Tango Delta at the north ramp, would like to taxi to 17 for the option.
Raptor 352 Tango Golf, I'll DOS to ground, runway 17, taxi via Alpha, wind 160 at 6, altimeter 3007.
Taxi 17 via Alpha, 352 Tango Delta. Valdosta Tower, Raptor 352 Tango Delta, holding short of 17.
Raptor 352 Tango Delta, Valdosta Tower, same conditions.
I'd like the option. It'll be high-speed taxi, but potentially I might be lifting off just into ground effect.
Raptor 2 Tango Delta, runway 17, clear for the option.
17 cleared for the option, 2 Tango Delta.
Raptor 2 Tango Delta, same conditions.
Same again, please. Stay with you on this frequency.
Raptor 2 Tango Delta, Roger, name the frequency. Do you want taxi back?
Yeah, taxi back 17, 2 Tango Delta.
Raptor 2 Tango Delta, runway 17, taxi via Alpha, remain frequency.
Runway 17 by Alpha on this frequency, 2 Tango Delta. Alright, it seems like the static port is still giving me a difference there, because I saw 300 on the altitude as I was midfield, and now it's 250. So still getting some low pressure across it, indicating a climb. So that is not the solution. At least maybe my fence needs to be bigger. And with respect to the elevator, I could kind of, now that I'm paying attention to it, I could kind of feel it pulling in. So I'm just going to add a little bit more here. And just keep doing that until it comes off of where I want it to come off, around about 90 knots. Probably 90 on the ground speed is where I had it the last time, was 88 on the ground speed. So we got about a 5 knot direct headwind this morning, so that's helping a little bit. And see the altimeter now showing just under 250, so that'll go up to 300 again. Valdosta Tower, Raptor 352 Tango Delta, holding short at 17.
Raptor 2 Tango Delta, runway 17, clear for the option.
17 clear for the option, 2 Tango Delta. Alright, a little bit more elevator trim in. And I've actually put some pitch in the prop as well on the governor, just to see how it compares with temperatures. I think it keeps the EGTs, or the turbine inlet temperature, a little bit lower. It's not revving quite so hard.
Raptor 2 Tango Delta, turn left at Zen. Taxi back runway 17 Alpha.
Less than Alpha 1, runway 17 by Alpha 2 Tango Delta. Yeah, I can definitely feel the elevator lifting up on me, and now that I think back to it, I felt that before. I just wasn't paying so much attention to it. Could feel it sort of pulling on me. So I'm just going to keep adding in the trim until the trim spring is enough to hold it there at a point where it, where it can generate the lift to rotate at 90, around about 90 knots. Yeah, and I saw the altimeter going to about 320, so now it's 250 to 320, so 70-foot error. So I think what I'll do is just make that little fence a little bit bigger, just try that a couple of different times until I see if I'm making any progress with respect to that. Because pretty much everywhere that you put the static port on the aircraft here is going to be a point where there's flow because of the rounded nature of the fuselage. There's not like there's a flat side like a 172 where you get potentially more of a dead zone of air there. So I think having a little fence in front of the hole is probably the way to go. Just got to make it big enough. Alright, so this go around I'm actually going to try it with a prop set to a flat pitch. I put a little bit more trim in the elevator. I'm just going to sort of pull it there, see where it settles, and see how we go on this one. Belt off the tower, Raptor 352 Tango Delta, holding short of 17.
Raptor 2 Tango Delta, runway 17, clear for the option.
17 cleared for the option, 2 Tango Delta. Like the wind is turning a little bit more crosswind from the left.
Tower check, 311 Whiskey, and down with you. Cherokee 3112 Whiskey, dial down with power, report 0. Hey, report 0, 12 Whiskey. Raptor 2 Tango Delta, runway 17, taxi via Alpha.
Runway 17 via Alpha 2 Tango Delta. Alright, so I can really feel it now that I'm paying attention to it. As you accelerate, you can feel the elevator just pulling in your hand, pulling back from where it's trimmed, so especially now that it's deployed a little bit more. But there's going to be a point there, or there should be a point there, where the trim spring is holding enough back pressure on it in order for it to be able to rotate there, because it should rotate at 0 degrees of elevator deployment at the 93 knots that market indicated, just around about there. So I'm just going to keep taking it up a little bit more until I get it there. Once I figure it out, then I'll put a mark on there of where it needs to be for takeoff trim. And I believe this is exactly the same way as the velocities and the long easies and all the other canards out there work, because they all use a trim spring for their elevator control. I'm sure they have exactly the same thing happening, where it's putting aerodynamic load upon it as you pick up speed. So I know the long easies, generally you actually rotate them yourself at 80 knots. So that's slightly different than what I'm trying to do right now.
Cherokee 12 Whiskey, 9 sight, runway 17, clear land. Runway 17, 12
I think what I'm doing right now is a viable way of figuring out where the takeoff trim needs to be. Alright, got a little bit more elevator trim in there this time. Looks like the wind has freshened a little bit down the runway still. Belt off the tower, Raptor 352 Tango Delta holding short of 17.
Raptor 2 Tango Delta, runway 17, clear for the option.
17 clear for the option, 2 Tango Delta.
Meridian 6 Kilo Juliet, profile conditions.
So these bases are right at above it.
Meridian 6 Kilo Juliet, give us second distance again?
Yes, base is right at 1,000 and we're on top now at about 2,200.
Meridian 6 Kilo Juliet, Roger, thank you. Raptor 2 Tango Delta, turn left on Able, taxi back the Alpha, 17.
Here, left on Alpha and taxi back 17 via Alpha 2 Tango Delta. Get a little bit of fresh air in here. AC is just not keeping up now. Got off the tower up to 352 Tango Delta. Just like to taxi back to the north ramp just for a little bit to let things cool down.
Raptor 2 Tango Delta, Roger, taxi to the north ramp via Alpha.
North ramp via Alpha 2 Tango Delta. Belt off the ground, Raptor 352 Tango Delta at the north ramp. Would like to taxi to 17 with option.
Raptor 352 Tango Golf, Valdosta ground, runway 17, taxi via Alpha, wind 130 at 9er, altimeter 3008.
Yeah, runway 17 via Alpha 352 Tango Delta. Alright, I've got a little bit more trim in here this time. You can really feel at how much, as you start accelerating, that elevator just wants to pick itself back up to neutral or close to neutral, just with the aerodynamic forces on it. So I've still got more trim available, more nose up trim. So it may be that I just have to trim it all the way to the stop for nose up, and then the spring has enough tension at that point to hold it, what would be sort of mid or just a little bit of elevator when when it's off the ground. All right, cooled down a little bit, airplane and me. Valdosta to tower, Raptor 352, Tango Delta, holding short of 17.
Raptor 352 Tango Delta, Valdosta tower, runway 17, clear for the option.
Runway 17 clear for the option, 2 Tango Delta. I'm pretty sure that the nose was popping off then. I could feel it rotating, lifting. So I'm like right teetering on the edge of...
Raptor 2 Tango Delta, turn left enable, taxi back, runway 17 via Alpha.
Left one able. Actually, I think I'd like to call it for the day and go and look at some videos. So just taxi back to the north ramp, please. 2 Tango Delta.
Raptor 2 Tango Delta, roger. Taxi back to True Flight via Alpha.
Taxi to True Flight via Alpha, 2 Tango Delta. Alright, so as I was saying, it felt like the nose was coming off then. If it wasn't, it was pretty light, as it was just, felt like it was just sort of teetering. You know, I could have pulled back some more, but that's not what I'm trying to do here. I've got to stay disciplined and follow the procedure that I've outlined that I want to follow. So, but anyway, I've got some good video I can look at and see where I'm at and then take it to the next step. So yeah, feeling good. I'm pretty sure that was coming off. And it wasn't doing anything weird. I wasn't modulating the elevator at all. I was just letting it do what it wanted to do, and they're ready to push the nose back down if something went astray. And you know, I had plenty of time still on the rollout. I didn't even have to really get on the brakes at all. Kind of let it roll out. So we'll see how we go. See what the video looks like. And it's taking a lot of elevator in there, but you can really see as I start accelerating, just the elevator just wants to pull up to neutral quite dramatically. Of course, yesterday was the first day that I'd done that. In other words, set the elevator to anything other than sort of 0 or nose down. So I hadn't experienced this before, of how much the aerodynamic forces were going to go and want to reset the elevator to the neutral point. So it's just like everything, just try something new and you discover something else, and then you've got to understand that and or fix that. So I'll have another go at putting a slightly larger fence over that static port. I may try just blowing some compressed air just past it to see if I can get it to do the same thing it was doing down the runway. But I notice when I roll into the throttle, it's not changing it at all, just rolling into the throttle, so that it's not the prop wash that's pulling it so much. It's moving down the runway where it starts to affect the altimeter. So, which is a good thing, because I don't want the prop wash to be something that would affect it. Anyway, I'll get that sorted out. And I haven't had any problems with the throttle here. It's been doing what it's supposed to do. So I'll just keep making baby steps until we get this thing off the ground doing what it's supposed to do, which is fly, I believe, eventually. And for those people who are asking, no, I don't have an Australian patch or any other patch on my other shoulder. This is the patch that was on the flight suit when it was donated to me. So I'll keep it on there and represent, seeing that I am a US citizen as well as an Australian citizen. Alright, so I'm going to go and review this video and put a video together, another one for you guys. That'll be 3 days in a row. It's going to be a bit much. And I'll show you in a little bit what I've done for this static port, if I haven't already shown it to you now. And so we'll just keep working on trying to figure that one out. And then we'll go from there. So anyway, that's the video. Hopefully we saw something getting off the ground here. Otherwise it will be a boring video again. And we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks again for watching. Cheers.